I failed as a parent. Where did I go wrong? This is not what I expected life to be like at all. Maybe I never should have had kids. These are thoughts that would go over in my mind so many times as I was trying to understand what was happening or what was even wrong with my children. I have 4 children, and 2 of my teenagers live and struggle with mental illness. I have a daughter who's been diagnosed with BPD, or borderline personality disorder, and my son with DMDD, which is a disruptive mood dysregulation disorder. We saw symptoms with him from a very young age. He would have severe outbursts or tantrums several times a week. Any changes in plans would throw him for a loop, or even in his schedule. At 9, we took him to a psychologist to have him evaluated, and that's when we received his diagnosis. When he was 13, we took him back to a different psychologist to get re-diagnosed, thinking maybe it was something else, but he received the same diagnosis again. Regular therapy is probably the best medicine for this, some medication as well. However, he's still young, and I can tell you that we will have challenging days, and I expect we will for a while, because as Elaine explained earlier with the brain, it takes a long time for it to fully develop. My daughter was 14 when she was first Baker acted. I was in complete shock because I felt like I never saw those signs. I didn't see those hallmark signs that I thought were of depression. She was tired and had stomach issues. I later found out she had an eating disorder and she was self-harming. She hid it very well from my husband and I. She was also sick a lot, and I would have to pick her up from school on a regular basis. Then the pandemic came, and I can tell you that the pandemic was not her friend. She was Baker acted 3 times during that year and spent 6 weeks in an outpatient residential program. It was very stressful and overwhelming for all of us. We later found her a therapist, and it took several therapists, but we found a therapist that works with teen and adults with her exact diagnosis. And it does take a few therapists. Do not be afraid to shop around. Sometimes you have to find what's going to be a good fit for yourself. She's been seeing the same therapist for over 7 months, and I can tell you we've seen a lot of changes. She also attends a group therapy with other teenagers that share a lot of the same illnesses as her. I think for her, therapy is probably the best treatment. She still has her ups and downs, but she is gaining valuable tools and learning what to do when she does have her bad days. Recently, my husband and I read this book called Stop Walking on Eggshells for Parents. This book is specifically for teens and adolescents with BPD. And let me tell you, the first half of the book, I found myself crying and becoming depressed just because I was learning so much about what was really going on with my daughter, what's going on in her head. And I literally went through those stages of denial through acceptance, realizing that this is going to be a forever illness, realizing that this is not temporary. I had to accept that this is my life. This is going to be my children's life. And I can't imagine what they were feeling as they were learning more about their illnesses. I also learned how large a role genetics can play in regards to mental illness. And I can tell you there was a time when we were going through a lot of this that I would see posts on social media from family and friends, and I would become envious or even angry, wishing my life was as easy as theirs. However, I then realized that when I post on social media, I'm also posting all of the happy and joyous moments. I'm certainly not sharing the downsides of what we are dealing with. And you know what? I realized everybody has their problems. Everybody has issues. Then there was also advice that we would receive from friends and family on how to deal with our teens. I'm sure many of you also been giving some of that unsolicited advice. I have learned to keep in mind, though, that their advice is well-intended, but many people do not fully understand mental illness. And my hope is that this knowledge will be more available and more people will become better educated on this topic. As it's been said here, we want to end the stigma, change the conversation. What has helped me and my children? I have learned that it is important to be there. Be supportive. Validate their feelings. Everyone is different, and what works for one doesn't always work for another. So we have to be open to different treatments, different opportunities and options. At times, you will feel drained, both emotionally and physically and spiritually. At times, you may feel depressed or overwhelmed. I can't tell you how many times I cried myself to sleep during the thick of everything. And because of this, it's important, absolutely vital, to take care of yourself as a parent and as a caregiver. For me, I have found, and everyone's different, but that exercising daily, following a healthy diet, setting a good example for my children. I also need to take time, watch a TV show or read a book, just time to myself. But you also cannot be afraid to ask for help for yourself. Counseling and support groups can be very helpful and give us better insight into what we are dealing with and our feelings. I've even joined a few support groups on Facebook for parents who are dealing with children with the same disorders as mine have, and it helps me tremendously. You will have bad days, some very bad days, but you will also have good days. Do not take those moments for granted. Hold on to those memories. Where there is a down, there's going to be an up, and there is hope. There is always hope in all of this. And you will become stronger as you face and conquer these challenges with your loved ones. But in the end, never, ever give up. Thank you.